Breaking news this Wednesday night. A prominent conservative American activist shot at a crowded public event.
All of a sudden I hear up top and his eyes kind of rolled back.
Charlie Kirk's key role in the MAGA movement and close ties to U.S. President Trump. Russian drones shot down in Poland's airspace. How Moscow and NATO are responding.
A reckless and unprecedented violation.
Pipe dream. The Prime Minister prepares to announce new projects of national interest. Will a new pipeline make the list? Plus, revelations from the Red Planet.
Are we truly alone in the universe?
NASA finds evidence of life on Mars.
Global National with Donna Friesen. Reporting tonight, Jeff Semple.
Good evening and thank you for joining us. We begin with breaking news tonight. Charlie Kirk has been killed. The American conservative activist was shot in the neck while attending a crowded political event at a university in Utah. News of his death was confirmed first by the U.S. president. The 31-year-old father was a close ally to Donald Trump and a major figure in the MAGA movement, particularly among youth. Utah's governor calls it a political assassination. Jackson Proskow is following these breaking developments from Washington. So, Jackson, what have you learned?
Well, Jeff, the conservative influencer was speaking this afternoon to a crowd mostly of students outdoors at Utah Valley University when a single gunshot rang out. Kirk was actually being asked by students about mass shootings in America in that moment before he was struck in the neck and collapsed on stage. I want to show you video that Kirk himself posted just minutes before the shooting. You can see the stage he was sitting on and the size of the crowd he was speaking to. There were about 3,000 people in attendance. We understand from police that that single shot was fired from another building about 200 meters away. As you mentioned, the news was announced by President Donald Trump on social media. He's an extremely close ally of Kirk's, and he said in part, quote, "No one understood or had the heart of the youth in the United States of America better than Charlie. He was loved and admired by all, especially me, and now he is no longer with us." Investigators are clear that this was a political assassination, but details are still sparse.
Nothing I say can unite us as a country. Nothing I can say right now can fix what is broken. Nothing I can say can bring back Charlie Kirk. Our hearts are broken.
And Jackson, just how influential was Charlie Kirk in American politics?
You know, an absolutely massive voice in the MAGA movement, especially amongst college-age conservatives, the Gen Z crowd. Kirk was known for his willingness to debate and engage even with people who didn't share his politics. That's why he was drawing massive crowds on campuses like we saw today. President Trump himself often credited Kirk with helping to grow his support among young voters during the last election. The 31-year-old father of two founded the political group Turning Point USA and had millions of followers on social media and hundreds of thousands of listeners for his podcasts. And big picture, Jeff, there's big concern that this latest act of political violence will lead to further violence in this already divided country.
All right, Jackson Proskow in Washington. Thanks, Jackson. And turning to other news now, European officials are condemning what's being described as a deliberate provocation by Russia. Multiple Russian drones crossed into Poland overnight. In response, NATO scrambled fighter jets to shoot them down. U.S. President Trump posted, "What's with Russia violating Poland's airspace with drones? Here we go." Russia claims Poland is not a target, but Polish leaders say it is an act of aggression. And with peace talks over Ukraine apparently going nowhere, this incursion is fueling fears that Russia's war could expand. Reggie Cecchini reports.
Moscow advanced towards a Western red line on Tuesday night after its ongoing invasion of Ukraine spilled into NATO territory. The Russians are testing the limits of what's possible, Ukraine's president said. They're testing reactions. Iranian-built drones fired by Russia entered Polish airspace overnight, forcing the country, along with Dutch and Italian allies, to scramble fighter jets to down the unmanned aircraft.
Europe stands in full solidarity with Poland.
Moscow claims this was not a deliberate breach of sovereignty and that its targets were all within Ukraine. Belarusian officials allege electronic jamming sent the drones astray and that its military shot some down as well. That didn't satisfy Poland's prime minister. "We are most likely dealing with a large-scale provocation," he said, arguing for NATO's Article 4 to be triggered to address a perceived threat. but stopped short of calling for the collective defense clause to be activated.
Whether it was intentionally or not, it is absolutely reckless.
This incident is probably a timely warning to NATO to move expeditiously in the direction of putting greater air defense assets into Eastern Europe.
This isn't the first time NATO territory has been under threat. In late August, Russian missiles fell near the Ukrainian border with Romania, forcing jets to be scrambled. With this incident in Poland highlighting how the moving deadlines coming from the White House have only emboldened the Kremlin. Putin is demonstrating once again his total disregard for the path of peace, the Prime Minister said on Wednesday.
This looks like a deliberate attempt by Russia to test NATO's resolve. If there is no NATO response, I think we could expect to see these sorts of probes continue on the part of Russia.
Whether intentional or accidental, the West now watches with worry about what Russia might do next. Reggie Cecchini, Global News, Washington.
Israel unleashed another round of airstrikes beyond its borders today, targeting the Yemeni capital and killing at least 35 people. It comes one day after Israel targeted Hamas leaders in Qatar. Western leaders, including Canada, are condemning the Israeli government, which appears increasingly isolated on the world stage. Redmond Shannon reports.
The President of the United Arab Emirates arrived in Qatar for a hastily arranged visit, showing solidarity and joining the widespread condemnation of Israel's attack on Doha. Qatar says it is looking into how it could hold Benjamin Netanyahu to account. On a morning, the Israeli Prime Minister arrived in a Tel Aviv court for a very different reason. His latest appearance in his long-running corruption trial, likely aware that even his closest allies are losing patience with his actions in the Middle East.
I'm not thrilled about the whole situation. It's not a good situation.
In Gaza City, more demolitions as Israeli troops prepare for a full occupation. The European Commission's president says the EU must do more to pressure Israel.
We will also propose a partial suspension of the association agreement on trade-related matters.
A policy that Canada's Foreign Affairs Minister Anita Anand says she may be considering.
We are evaluating the relationship with Israel.
Canada and the UK are among nations preparing to recognise the state of Palestine this month. Israel's president visited British Prime Minister Keir Starmer Wednesday. Their brief handshake and terse expressions, a reflection of Israel's growing diplomatic isolation. Redmond Shannon, Global News, London.
Canada's ethics watchdog has ruled there is no need for a conflict of interest screen for the public safety minister. Back in June, Gary Anandasangari said he would voluntarily set up a screen, recusing himself from national security issues relating to his Tamil community to avoid any potential conflicts of interest. In emails provided to Global News, the ethics commissioner told Anandasangari that no measures are required. The minister faced calls to resign back in July after Global News revealed that before joining cabinet, Anandasangari wrote letters urging immigration officials to allow a suspected former member of a terrorist organization, the Tamil Tigers, to come to Canada. Prime Minister Mark Carney will announce the first wave of major infrastructure projects tomorrow. Back in June, the government passed legislation aimed at reducing Canada's reliance on the U.S. It gives Ottawa sweeping powers to fast-track approval of strategic national projects. Mackenzie Gray reports on what may and may not make the cut.
All right, there he is. Hey, how are you? I'm good, thanks.
A laid-back Mark Carney, getting an ovation from his Liberal teammates.
This is not a transition.
But the Prime Minister seemed more concerned about his other favorite team, the Edmonton Oilers.
We are in a crisis. The global trading system has been upended. Supply chains have been destroyed. McDavid is unsigned.
Carney's jokes a riff on a core political message. Quick action is required to reform the Canadian economy. And the biggest announcement of his government's term is set to come tomorrow, naming the first batch of fast-track major infrastructure projects.
We're all here to get big things done for Canadians at a scale and a pace that hasn't happened for generations.
Liberal sources tell Global News there'll be just under 10 projects named Thursday from across the country, but an oil pipeline won't be on the list. according to Alberta's premier.
We have been assured that there is pathways to get projects on the list as they become ready.
Prime Minister has promised.
The Natural Resources Minister tight-lipped on a potential pipeline.
You haven't heard that from the government?
I've heard it from the premier, though. She said it.
You have not heard that from the federal government.
Is she wrong?
I'm not going to get out in front of my boss.
Additional projects expected to be added in the coming weeks, but being named a project of national significance doesn't mean automatic approval. The newly formed Major Projects Office will shepherd companies through the permitting process, but senior Liberals admit that if there's significant Indigenous, provincial, or environmental opposition, some projects named might not go forward. Some of that opposition could be internal, including from the staunchly anti-pipeline former Environment Minister.
I'll comment on something that's not official, and there's an announcement that's going to be made soon.
Carney trying to head off those concerns, promising fresh environmental measures.
We will release a new climate competitiveness strategy that focuses on results over objectives.
Getting things built fast is at the heart of Carney's political brand, Jeff, meaning executing on these projects is key for the Liberals to maintain their popularity.
Thanks, Mac. A 1-year-old has died after a vehicle crashed into a daycare north of Toronto. Police said the car drove through a window of the childcare center in Richmond Hill this afternoon. Several other children and staff members were hurt. One child is now in serious condition. A man in his 70s was arrested. The cause of the crash is under investigation, but police do not believe it was deliberate. In Vancouver, a judge has ruled that the suspect in the Lapu Lapu Day tragedy is fit to stand trial. Kaiji Adam Lowe is accused of driving through a crowd at the Filipino Street Festival back in April. Lowe has now been charged with 31 counts of attempted murder. That's in addition to the 11 counts of second-degree murder he was already facing. In Toronto, a 16-year-old is now charged with first-degree murder in the shooting death of an 8-year-old boy. Jave Roy was in bed when he was struck by a stray bullet inside his apartment last month. 2 other teens, who police have identified by name, are still wanted. 17-year-old Ibrahim and 18-year-old Amari Lindner are also accused of first-degree murder. A third Canadian has been identified among the victims of last week's deadly streetcar crash in Lisbon. Aziz Ben Harif, a permanent resident living in Ottawa, was vacationing in Portugal with his wife. He was one of 16 people killed in the funicular derailment. According to a GoFundMe page, his wife survived but has serious injuries. A Quebec couple was also killed. Scoring tickets to one of next year's hottest events. Coming up, the lineup and the lottery to see the World Cup in Canada. Fans of the beautiful game can now put their name in the draw for tickets to the biggest tournament on Earth. The World Cup is coming to Canada, the U.S. and Mexico next June and July. Toronto and Vancouver will host matches. But as Eric Sorensen reports, it'll take some luck to score tickets.
The build-up to the World Cup in Canada is underway. The men's national team doing its part, a spectacular free kick to defeat Wales last night. It comes on the heels of beating Romania 3-0, the first back-to-back wins on European soil ever. Less flashy, the chance to get tickets has also started. Beginning online, you have to register interest for a chance at the pre-draw sale. FIFA is hyping Canada, the U.S. and Mexico as co-hosts. Actual ticket sales next month will start at $60 U.S., though exclusive packages and resale tickets could go for thousands of dollars each, especially for games here with Canada or top contenders from South America or Europe.
It would be incredible, the prices, the tickets on the spot market, in the days before the game would be extremely high.
Canada will host 13 World Cup matches, 7 at Vancouver's BC Place, 6 at Toronto's BMO Field. Vancouver's capacity is over 54,000 seats. Toronto is adding 17,000 to bring the seating to about 46,000, still the smallest venue at the World Cup. In total, though, some 655,000 seats in this country, and that probably won't satisfy the demand. Even when not hosting, Toronto is a hotbed for following the World Cup as one of the most diverse immigrant communities in the world. In an expanded tournament, 48 countries will now be taking part. Former national team star Dwayne De Rosario expects the World Cup to be unlike any sports event ever held in this country.
Every continent, every country has representation. Toronto is a great city to host the World Cup because it's one of the most diverse, multicultural cities in the world.
With visitors from all over the world, ticket prices will only climb.
Hey, get it while it's hot. because they're not going to stay on the shelf for too long.
For what may be a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to watch the World Cup in person in Canada. Eric Sorensen, Global News, Toronto.
Still ahead, a promising new tool in cancer treatment and its Canadian connection.
This very well could be the clearest sign of life that we've ever found on Mars.
News from NASA that is truly out of this world. For the past year, scientists have been studying a rock collected from the surface of Mars, and they've now found the strongest evidence yet of ancient life on the red planet. Scientists analyzed the rock, which was formed billions of years ago, and found its spots are consistent with microbial life as we know it here on Earth. And another exciting scientific discovery back here on Earth, researchers at McGill and Harvard universities have made a promising breakthrough in cancer treatment. They're developing a tool to predict a patient's response to chemotherapy. The new technology could help patients avoid unnecessary and potentially harmful treatments. Phil Carpenter explains.
Chemotherapy is... One of the most common treatments for cancer is chemotherapy. Regardless of where a tumor is located, a patient is prescribed a treatment to shrink the mass. But for many, the drug simply doesn't work.
So they may get 3 months of treatment, and then do repeat scans and find that the cancer is still there, it's grown, it's not responded.
That amounts to 3 months of wasted time for a patient. Dr. Lorenzo Ferri at the McGill University Health Center found a possible solution with a team of researchers. A way to predict which patient will respond to treatment using a computer chip.
Where you can put different cancer cells or different types of the cancer cells on top and inside this chip.
The chip is treated with chemotherapy to see if and how the cancerous cell responds. Essentially, the treatment is tested on a tiny patient sample to see if it's worth giving to a patient.
I can take a biopsy, and 4 to 6 weeks later, I know exactly what drug's going to work in that patient.
What's fascinating to doctors is that several drugs can be tested at once.
So that's 3,000 drugs, and that we can do that within 4 weeks of a biopsy.
Organ chip technology first saw the light of day around a decade ago. What's new with this approach is that every patient's tumor has its own tailored chip.
So it's patient-specific, and it's clinically relevant, and at the end, it's promising.
The study, conducted in collaboration with Harvard researchers, has been tested on 8 patients with encouraging results. Clinical trials are the next step, expected to take place within the next year. In the meantime, work is ongoing.
Research never ends, so we will keep on adding different avenues and different aspects of cancers.
And the possibilities of finding more efficient shortcuts to treatment and care continue. Phil Carpenter, Global News, Montreal.
Receiving a phone call from a hockey legend. Up next, a deeply personal story about the late, great Ken Dryden. The late Habs legend Ken Dryden's life could be measured in Stanley Cup rings and trophies, but his influence went far beyond the rink. As a lawyer, politician, and writer, Dryden left his mark on public life. And as Mike Armstrong explains, he also made a profound impact on ordinary Canadians away from the spotlight.
I knew if my dad was alive, it's what he would have done.
When Cavi Murphy heard the news Saturday Ken Dryden had passed away, he laid flowers outside the Bell Centre under Dryden's number 29. It wasn't for something the Canadiens legend did on the ice, but off it, a moment he's kept private until now.
He did something so special that I'll never be able to thank him for, and that really hurts.
Murphy didn't have his father's genes. He was adopted from India. But Kevin Murphy did pass on a passion for one specific team and one particular player. Every trip to the Hall of Fame was a chance for his father to talk about Ken Dryden.
Yeah, it was always just to go there to see his pads and to see the statue of him.
Yes! Father and son were supposed to share moments like this for decades to come, but that didn't happen. Kevin was diagnosed in 2019 with kidney cancer. 3 years later, he went into palliative care,
where most would be inconsolable.
Now, here we have to mention Global National did a story about the Murphys. Cavi decorated his father's hospital room.
He was kind of speechless.
And turned it into a mini Hall of Fame while he slept.
I want to be there with him and learn from him as much as I can before he's gone.
Hello.
After the story aired, Ken Dryden reached out and a Zoom call was set up.
Holy cow.
You got all your books here.
Cavi says he expected a quick hello. What he got was much more.
Just last week, my brother passed away.
It was an open, intimate, and extended conversation. He talked about hockey, but also about family and a father's legacy.
Those things don't go away. They absolutely never go away.
Now, in the weeks before the call, Kevin Murphy struggled to speak or stay awake. But speaking to his boyhood idol with his son, he was stronger.
Bye. Have a good night. Thank you so much. Have an amazing night.
The second after that call pretty much ended, the nurses came in and they gave him something. And after that, he was pretty much out and he passed away later that night.
At the time, Dryden didn't want the call publicized. He didn't do it for the attention. He did it for another father. Murphy wanted to tell the story now as his way of saying thank you for a cherished memory.
He probably did thousands of things like this for countless different people, and we'll just never know.
Mike Armstrong, Global News, Montreal.
And that is Global National for this Wednesday night. I'm Jeff Semple. Tonight's Your Canada showcases Water Valley, Alberta, Humboldt, Saskatchewan, and Chatham-Kent, Ontario. Thanks for watching. Hope to see you back here again tomorrow. Have a great night.